Welcome everyone to the meeting. Can I remind everyone that the meeting is being live streamed to YouTube? Item 1, apologies. Are there any apologies or members joining remotely, please?
There are no apologies, but I can confirm that Councillor Bidwell is joining remotely.
Thank you. Can I remind the meeting that only those who are present in the room may vote or move recommendations? Item 2, declaration of interest. Can I ask if there are any declarations of interest, please, on any of the items to be raised this evening? None? Thank you. Item 3, minutes. Are there any matters arising or points of accuracy on the minutes, please? None? Then I propose the minutes are adopted as a correct record. Can I ask for a seconder, please?
I'm happy to second.
Councillor Purnell, thank you very much. Can I ask for a show of hands to support those minutes, please? Move the minutes. Thank you. Item 4, urgent items of business. Are there any urgent items of business?
No, none, Chair.
Thank you. Then we move to the Cabinet decision items. And item 5 is the Capital Programme 2026-27. Can I ask the Cabinet member, Councillor Bidwell, to present the report, please? Councillor Bidwell, are you there?
A minute.
All right, thank you. Can you present your report, please?
Yeah. Bracknell Forest Council's 26-27 capital budget sets out a targeted and financial responsible programme designed to sustain essential infrastructure, meet statutory obligations and support long-term community well-being during a period of continued fiscal pressure. The Council plans 12.8 million of capital investment in 26-27, funding essential works across buildings, transport, public spaces and community facilities. Central to the programme is a council-funded capital allocation of 8.05 million, backed by 4.779 million in external funding, including 0.76 million in S106 developer contributions, enabling investment without fully increasing the burden on core financial council finances. An additional 1 million Investor Save budget has been approved to support initiatives that reduce long-term costs, improve efficiency, and help stabilise future financial planning. Delivery of the capital programme is being shaped by a challenging financial context, particularly a £10 million revenue budget gap driven by raising demand for social care, SEND services, transport support, and inflationary cost pressures after years of constrained central government funding. To ensure successful delivery, the Council is advancing several initiatives, recommissioning and revising contracts to maximise value for money, maximising the use of grants and external funding, implementing Investor Save projects to modernise services, and utilising variant of unspent housing programme funds to support acquisition of new temporary accommodation. Overall, the 26-27 capital budget balances necessity with strategic investment, ensuring Bracknell Forest continues to maintain high quality infrastructure while adapting to financial realities. Thank you.
Thank you. Would the Stuart McKellar, Executive Director, like to comment on or add anything, please?
Yeah, thank you, Leader. The only thing I would add is a little explanation around the flexible use of capital receipt strategy, which is Annex I to the report, subject of one of the recommendations. Now, this is part of the capital programme proposals, but there's a very close link to the revenue budget, because this is about bringing funding through the disposal of assets through a permitted flexibility within the local government finance regime that allows us to invest in transformation activities, and clearly that is about securing long-term revenue savings that will help balance the budget in the future years. So, but it's in the capital programme proposals because of the funding from capital receipts. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you. Can I ask if there's any questions, please, of the Executive Director?
Yeah, Councillor Roy Bailey. Compared with other councils, are we in a strong position because we've kept investing in our roads rather than letting things slide?
I'm happy to take that question. So the latest data, although not published, indicates that we now have a much higher than average proportion of our roads in green and amber rather than red. So that sustained maintenance payments into the road network is really starting to pay dividends.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? No other questions? Oh, Councillor Purnell?
Thank you, Leader. What evidence can officers share that this steady approach to maintenance is starting to pay off in the overall condition of our network?
So since we've been putting planned maintenance schemes into place, we're starting to see an overall improvement in condition of the roads, and that's across all categories. That's showing signs of improvement, and the more we put capital in, the less we need to spend revenue in terms of the repairs to potholes, etc. So based on the sort of national condition index, we're moving more roads into our green and amber rather than in the red. So it's a positive picture.
Councillor Wright?
Thank you. Just to follow up on that, obviously you've got your quick repairs and then you've got your planned maintenance. And can you outline how we're keeping the right balance between those two so that we prevent repeat problems and sort of stretch our value for money? Thank you.
Yeah, so similar point, I suppose. The more you do planned maintenance, long stretches of roads, all at the same time, you are then not having to do interventions so regularly, so that you are starting to see a lessening of the kind of the reactive maintenance, which is the one that is your spend is less controllable. So by having that planned approach, you're getting a network that is much more easy to manage, and you're reducing that impact on things like potholes, etc.
Any other questions? Can I just ask, if Bracknell is a new town and all of the roads in the new town were put in more or less at the same time, and so, I mean, is it noticeable that compared to other, is this like other new towns, is it all happening all over the place? I mean, all these, when you go and you meet people, is it an issue that new towns have this problem?
Probably, I don't know that I can answer that specifically. I think I probably would just recommend the fact that we do a planned approach. So we're doing our road surveys. We've implemented an increase in the maintenance that we're doing on a planned preventative approach. And in doing that, we are starting to see that improvement across the piece. We must remember that we're a borough that covers lots of much more ancient roads, etc., out in some of the rural locations, and all of those need to be factored into it. So I couldn't tell you that we're in a different position from other new towns, but I think our planned approach is the one that is giving us the best bang for our buck.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? No? I would like to move the recommendations on this on 3.1. Can I ask for a seconder, please?
Councillor Jeffries, Leader.
Thank you. I'll move this and speak to it. 133 residents responded to the budget consultation, both online and at the 4 public budget consultation sessions. 94% had read all the budget information. I would like to thank all those who took the time to respond, as we do need to hear your voice. We also had responses from the Conservative group, the Green group, and also the Liberal Democrat group. All the responses have been read and considered. Of the capital budget proposals, the most popular, 90%, was for continued investment in highways infrastructure, 2.7 million. There was also positive support for the investment in leisure facilities, 59%. I support the proposed budget as the programme emphasises maintaining critical infrastructure while balancing fiscal responsibility and community needs. The Council aims to manage ageing assets, fund essential services, and invest in sustainability initiatives within the constraints of available funding. The only change from the draft capital budget programme proposals is the inclusion of our proposed flexible use of capital receipt strategy for 26-27 to 28-29. We are proposing to use sums generated from selling capital assets to fund our transformation programme, new ways of doing things, and generating future savings. This is a legal use of such funds as outlined in the strategy included within the capital budget papers. Can I ask if the seconder would like to speak?
Yes, Chair. I highlight the significance of the capital programme for 2026-2027 to 2028-2029, alongside vital initiatives that will shape the future of Bracknell Forest. These plans represent not just immediate needs, but a long-term vision aimed at bettering our community for generations to come. I'd like to underscore why this capital programme is such an important step for our borough. It fundamentally focuses on safeguarding the essential services and infrastructure that our residents rely on every day. Much of our estate, from highways to public buildings, is ageing. Without timely investment, we face higher costs, greater risks, and potential service disruptions. This plan ensures that we address the most urgent needs now rather than paying more later. Consultation has shown overwhelming support from our residents for our proposed highways investment and strong backing for improving leisure facilities. Therefore, this programme reflects the priorities of our community and has from our community as they have expressed. We have kept a firm commitment to financial responsibility throughout this process. Funding sources include grants, developer contributions, and capital receipts where possible, with borrowing employed only when absolutely necessary. Our expanded flexible use of capital receipt strategy will only aid us in navigating the challenging financial landscape we face over the next 3 years. I'd like to turn your attention to the athletics track redevelopment. I want to emphasize that this is a once-in-a-generation investment. The current track, over 30 years old, cannot be further patched or stretched. The advice from national experts is clear: replacement is essential. We are committed to following technical guidance rather than taking the easy route. Delaying this project risks a surface that could fail prematurely, the loss of specialist contractors to national tenders, and the potential for an unusable facility during winter months. Our budget is designed to ensure the long-term quality of this vital community asset. The track is crucial for local schools, community clubs, disability athletics groups, and regional competitions. By investing now, we secure these opportunities for the next 30 to 40 years. The Council is handling the core works well. We invite the community to support enhancements, such as fences, CCTV, a new clubhouse, and more. This collaboration serves to build excellence in our community assets. I would like to reaffirm the essential nature of this capital programme. It supports safer buildings, better roads, improved community assets, and enhanced services for our vulnerable residents. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak? Councillor Gilby?
Thank you, Leader. I'm very happy to speak in support of the recommendations in this capital programme. Residents expect us to focus on what matters most: protecting the essentials that make daily life work: safe roads and pavements, reliable drainage, well-maintained public spaces, and doing it in a way that is responsible and affordable in a tough financial climate. And on that point, I do want to acknowledge the role of government support. We're able to bring forward this programme not just through careful local decisions, but also because grant funding, particularly for highways, continues to back councils that take maintenance seriously. That partnership matters because it helps us turn local priorities into real work on the ground. For my portfolio, the headline is clear. We are continuing sustained investment in highway maintenance in 26-27. This budget sets aside £2.7 million of council funding, and alongside that, we will be investing around £4 million of grant funding into highways work. This is not abstract. It means work to roads, pavements, drainage, bridges and cycle lanes across the borough. I know highways maintenance is one of the biggest day-to-day concerns people raise, and we should be straight with residents. We have an extensive network, and we also have the particular challenges of an ageing new town inheritance. The right answer isn't a one-off burst of spending. It's a steady, disciplined programme year after year, so we can respond quickly where we need to, including with practical patching and repairs, while also investing in the longer-lasting treatments that protect the network and reduce the repeat problems. It's also worth noting that the public told us this is where they want the focus. In the budget consultation, there was overwhelming support for our planned highways investment. That matters because it shows we're aligning spending with residents' priorities, not political gimmicks. And this capital programme supports the wider place agenda too. For example, flood mitigation in our open spaces, helping keep them accessible and resilient, while also supporting the habitats that make Bracknell Forest such a green and livable borough. So this is a capital programme that is prudent, resident-focused and practical. It maintains critical infrastructure, uses external funding sensibly, and keeps Bracknell Forest moving. I urge colleagues to support the recommendations.
Thank you. Would anyone like to speak? Councillor Purnell?
Thank you, Leader. I just wanted to highlight that not only are we investing in new properties for temporary accommodation, but we're also continuing to invest in our existing temporary accommodation stock, which is of course owned by Bracknell Forest Council. And those houses are used as temporary accommodation for families and individuals in the borough who present as homeless. We wanted to make sure that these homes meet the highest standards and that they are in line with our climate change priorities, they are energy efficient. It's prudent to invest in these assets to ensure they remain fiscally viable for the future and the well-being of our residents. And this also aligns with our council plan to ensure that residents have a safe and affordable place to live. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak? None? Councillor Bidwell, would you like to speak?
Thank you, Leader. The Bracknell Forest 2026-27 capital budget outlines £12 million in planned capital investment to maintain and improve local infrastructure. The Cabinet has approved £8.051 million of council-funded schemes, £4.779 million of external funded projects, and £1 million for investor safe initiatives. Developed during a period of financial pressure, including a £10 million revenue funding gap, the programme focuses on essential assets, community support, and long-term sustainability. Given the strategic importance of these recommendations in ensuring residents continue to receive vital services and infrastructure investment, I strongly urge that the Cabinet members support the full package of proposals set out in the Cabinet papers. Doing so will enable the Council to progress essential projects, secure external funding opportunities, and maintain financial resilience in the challenging years ahead. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak? Then I would like to move this recommendation, that's 3.1, A, B, C, D and E, as on the screen. I do not need to sum up anymore after that last summary, so I ask all those in favour to raise their hand for the recommendations on the screen, please. Thank you. We then move on to item 6, which is the revenue budget 26-27. And again, I ask the Cabinet Member to present the report.
Thank you, Leader. The 2026-27 General Fund Revenue Budget is presented at a time of unprecedented financial challenge for the Council. Shaped by the combined impact of the Fair Funding Review, the business rates reset, rising demand-led pressures, particularly in social care, and sustained inflationary pressures across key services. The provisional settlement confirmed that Bracknell Forest faces the lowest increase in core spending power of any unitary authority, with an overall rise of just 0.16% over 3 years. Against this backdrop, the budget for 2026-27 has been developed through a robust and evidence-led process reflecting updated financial information, public and stakeholder consultation, and thorough review of risks and statutory obligations. To meet these challenges, the Council has taken decisive steps that prioritise stability, protect essential services, and support the most vulnerable. Key initiatives include targeted investment in social care to address demographic and cost pressures, strengthen support for households through a £50 council tax discount for low-income residents, and a carefully aligned inflation provision that safeguards service delivery where risks are most acute. Council has also expanded its use of transformational funding through capital receipts to deliver long-term efficiencies, alongside measures to improve staffing resilience by adjusting devolved staffing budgets and the managed vacancy factor. Strategic decisions in the capital programme, particularly those supporting leisure, transport and community development, reinforce the Council's commitment to maintain essential infrastructure while delivering future savings. This budget sets a balanced and responsible course for 2026-27, recognising the scale of the challenges ahead while laying foundations for sustainability in the years that follow. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you. Can I ask the Stuart McKellar, Executive Director of Resources, if he's anything to add?
Thank you, Leader. Just a couple of points to add to the introduction of Councillor Bidwell. The first is just a very quick summary of the impact of the final settlement, which was announced yesterday. So that doesn't have any material impact on the Council's budget proposals for 2026-27. However, the announcement that the Government intends to provide funding to write off 90% of dedicated school grant deficits as at the end of 25-26 is welcome news for Bracknell Forest, because that means that our future financial thinking can include reference to a large part of the safety valve reserve that we currently have set aside. So that will help our medium-term planning. The only other point I think to flag for Cabinet members is that the Treasury Management Strategy is part of the report and the recommendations. It includes reference to a local climate bond and the ability to use that. So this particular strategy is brought to you with the support of the Governance and Audit Committee, but it does need to go on to full council for final approval alongside the budget in February. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you. Can I ask members if they have any questions of the officer, please? Councillor Gilby.
Thank you, Leader. With 38% of the budget going on adult social care for the benefit of those members of the public listening in, could the Cabinet member please describe the pressures that you face in your portfolio?
Okay, thank you. I'll try and answer this, but obviously if I can see Gráinne Siggins is online, who's our Executive Director, so she should be able to chip in if I don't get it right. A good example is looking at residential care. In 2020, in the budget for the financial year 2022-23, we had 36 new placements going into residential care, and they each cost us roughly about £1,000 a week. This year to date, we have double that new people going into care, so we've got over 72, and they're costing us over 1,400 a week. So you can see the increase in numbers and also the increase in cost. But at the same time, we've actually got some great initiatives in the borough. I mean, I was lucky enough to visit Clement House, which is supported living, and I was able to see how we were able to provide for people within a more protective environment, but how they were able to live independently, and they all had different levels of care. So one of the things that we're looking at in the budget is using the flexible use of capital receipts to invest in improving our extra care provision, in the hope that it will reduce our social care budget, but will also improve the lives of people as they get older living in the borough. I hope that answers your question. I don't know if Gráinne would like to add any, the Executive Director for People would like to add anything else to that, but does that give you a good idea of, okay, thank you.
Gráinne Siggins, would you like to add anything to that, please? I think you're on mute.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Sorry, you can hear me. Yeah. So the budget also looks at the shape of our reablement service. Our reablement service is an excellent service that supports people both in the community to when they've had some form of life incident or transition or become unwell or a hospital admission and comes out of hospital back into the community. It does support people to get back to, as far as possible, how they were functioning before and getting back to living the life as they would want. And so we're looking at how we can make that service more efficient so that we can provide more hours of reablement support for people, but also continuing to look at how we use technology to support people to remain living at home for longer, because that is always our ambition, as far as possible, supporting people to live as long as possible in the community, a little bit of help and support from the local authority when they need it, but having a full and active life in the community. And those principles underpin the budget that you're being asked to approve tonight.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Councillor Pickering?
Thank you. Can officers confirm how this budget protects the everyday essentials on the network, so the roads, pavements, safety critical defects, so that residents can see work on the ground ongoing, continue to see that?
Yes, so our reactive budgets remain the same. So residents will continue to see us doing pothole repairs, safety critical works. So there's no reduction in there, so they will see sort of no change in that position. And as we previously mentioned, our longer term approach is to doing this much more planned approach, so we're going to have to do less of that in the future, but for now there's no change in our position on that.
Thank you. Councillor Jeffries?
Thank you, Chair. I've got a question on parking. Can the officers summarise how the proposed changes modernise the service, better contracts, removing low value spend, while keeping things fair and supporting the town centre?
Chair, if I'll take this one. I think if Cabinet are minded to accept the proposals, the changes to modernise the service will bring our contracts, technology and spend in line with how people actually use parking services in Bracknell Forest. We've already realigned budgets to match the actual costs of maintaining equipment now installed in the borough. We've stopped the previous parking app after the Lexicon withdrew their funding due to very low take-up, and we plan to introduce more modern cashless options through the new contract. Working with Wokingham, we'll also be reducing management costs because we'll be using and sharing the same contractor, so we'll be able to make some savings there. Finally, ending the subsidy to students removes the cost that is currently borne by the wider community. Taken together, these steps will reduce low-value spend, keep offer fair, and support a town centre that is easy to access and simple to park in.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? None? Then I would like to move the recommendation 3.1 to 3.6. Having made all the 133 responses, the recommendations are on the supplementary. pages which are on the screen. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. So, and they'll be put on, it's 3.1 to 3.6, and they will be moving on as we get there. Okay, thank you. Can I have a seconder for this too, please? Thank you, Councillor Gilby. I'll go now. Having read all the 133 responses to the budget consultation, including some detailed responses, I would like to thank everyone who took the time to respond. We've all read the responses and made some changes. Areas of consensus and strongly supported on the revenue budget were exploring partnership delivery models, 74%, continued support for the lowest income households, 73%, make upfront investments for future savings, 68%, streamlining staffing where appropriate, 65%. The areas contested are the hydrogenated vegetable oil fuel, resident surveys, and security measures. The security measures were recommended from an audit, and I think we owe it to our staff to provide these to enable them to work in a secure and safe environment. The comments that refer to the resident survey suggested that we could do this better face to face, continuing on from last summer's survey on the community strategy, where over 2,400 residents contributed. There are several independent reports to refer to too, including the one that declared Bracknell Forest as the 4th best place in the country to be born, grow up and grow old. As leader, I have also emphasised the promise to take the council to the residents, and so we will continue to ask our residents to tell us their concerns, and as ward members, we will coordinate the issues throughout the borough. This will save 40k. The trial use of hydrogenated vegetable oil in one refuge truck was very successful, saving 90% of the carbon dioxide emissions compared to diesel. No modifying changes have to be made to the vehicles to swap the fuel source. We have guarantees that the HVO fuel contains no palm oil. If, because of the popularity of this fuel, it becomes less available, then we could return to diesel. Many residents gave very positive and detailed feedback supporting our climate change strategy. Reducing our carbon emissions is a very important part of this strategy, and we'll include this item in the budget. There was criticism of the proposed change of funding in the climate change strategy to a business model where income will be sought. I want to reassure all that there will be regular reports of the success of this model to ensure it is sustainable. I would like to thank all the staff for their input in devising this very, very difficult budget. Having to recommending using half our available reserves to balance it is not a position we wanted. Once again, the balances, once gone, are gone forever. The fair funding review was to readjust the local government settlement to reflect deprivation. Bracknell Forest is one of the least deprived areas in the country, but we still have need and are responsible for supporting all those needing adult and children's social care, our largest area of expenditure by far. I would like to remind all that following the fair funding review, I wrote a letter to the Minister asking for a 4% base funding increase to enable us to cover the ever-rising costs of adult and children's social care. This letter was signed by all the leaders of all the political groups. Our settlement did not respond to this request. It is clear that the flatlining of the 3-year settlement means we have to do things differently. And this budget shows us how we are going to do things differently, but still maintain the services we promised. I support the budget. Would the seconder like to speak?
Yes, thank you, Leader. I'm pleased to second the recommendations listed on screen and to focus my remarks on the areas I lead: planning, transport and countryside. We're setting this budget at a time when household finances are stretched and councils everywhere are having to make hard decisions. Our responsibility is clear: to set a balanced, lawful budget, to be open about the choices we've made, and to keep our priorities rooted in what matters most to residents. For my portfolio, those priorities are simple: keeping Bracknell Forest moving, keeping it safe, and keeping it a great place to live. From roads and pavements to public transport support to our green spaces and countryside. On highways, residents are consistent in what they ask for: well-maintained roads and pavements, reliable street lighting, and resilience when the weather turns. This budget maintains that focus. It protects our ability to respond to day-to-day issues on the network while continuing planned maintenance that helps the network last longer and perform better over time. That is the responsible approach, dealing with what needs doing now while also looking after the assets so we reduce repeat problems over time. Now, I want to address the issue that I know many residents have spoken to us about: supported bus services. I understand why this matters. For some people, these routes are part of everyday life, getting to work, to college, to appointments, to shops, or simply staying connected. That's why we consulted, why we've been transparent about the impacts, and why this has been approached carefully. The proposals in this budget withdraw support from a small number of routes where the subsidy cost is particularly high relative to passenger use. I don't pretend that's painless, but the principle is important. If we are going to spend public money on supported buses, we must do it in a way that is sustainable, fair, and targeted, so it reaches the greatest number of residents possible within the resources available. And crucially, this isn't a make a change and walk away. It comes with a clear next step. That's why I have framed the specialist capacity in this budget as the start of a supported bus review, a serious multi-year effort to look at our supported network in the round and adapt it for the future, where demand really is, what journeys people need to make, what offers best value, what can be redesigned, and how we can stretch every pound further. It gives us a positive, purposeful direction, modernising the supported network so it is better aligned with how people travel today rather than simply managing things year to year. I've also tried to explore every practical option to avoid these withdrawals. I wrote to every parish and town council in the borough asking whether they could offer financial support to keep these routes running. Those who responded declined, often for understandable reasons, and I respect that. But I do want to recognise a constructive direction we can build on. For example, Bracknell Town Council has shown interest in supporting alternative transport options such as Keep Mobile. I welcome that, and I want us to work with any partner, town and parish councils, community groups, neighbouring authorities, who wants to help shape workable solutions. Beyond buses, there are other place-based elements of this budget worth noting. On parking, we're tightening up contracts, removing tools that aren't delivering value, and managing costs sensibly, while keeping a clear direction of travel that supports the town centre and encourages sustainable choices where appropriate. On planning, the message remains: growth must be planned properly and must contribute to the infrastructure it requires, and we will keep using the planning system and developer contributions to support transport and green infrastructure. And on countryside and open spaces, the approach is responsible, getting better value from the assets we manage so we protect what residents value: clean, safe, accessible green spaces and facilities that support well-being and quality of life. So yes, there are hard choices here, but there's also a clear set of priorities. Protect essentials, be disciplined with public money, and modernise where we must, especially in supported transport, so we deliver the best possible outcomes within the resources available. For those reasons, I'm pleased to second the recommendations, and I urge colleagues to support them. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone else like to speak? Councillor Jeffries.
Thank you, Chair. This budget is prudent, targeted and aligned with our residents' priorities. It protects our assets, supporting transformation, and ensures that we continue delivering for our community despite financial pressure for future generations to come. I would like to address one item in my portfolio, which is the metal recycling income. Rising costs threaten our ability to maintain high service standards at the cemetery and crematorium, a deeply respected public service. Families retain full choice regarding metal remains. No one is compelled to donate. However, if they consent, this income legally supports the service. Spending up to £50,000 per annum for this metal income is the least harmful option. Without it, we would either have to reduce service quality or increase fees for bereaved families, neither of which is acceptable. We honour charitable giving. Any surplus beyond this funding will go to support the Mayor's Charity and the Royal British Legion. By responsibly managing this small income stream, we can ensure that our services remain dignified and sustainable. The UK government has implemented several schemes aimed at investing in more deprived areas. As Bracknell Forest was voted 4th best place to live, we cannot expect to see the support we require, not at least for the foreseeable future. Let us take responsibility to maintain our assets, to fund our services honestly, and to safeguard our environment. The choices we make today will secure the future of Bracknell Forest for generations to come. I commend this proposal to the Council. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Another one, Councillor Pennell.
Thank you, Leader. I just want to expand on the removal of the residence survey from the budget papers, as you spoke about earlier. So following the consultation, it was clear that a lot of residents did not support spending £40,000 on an independent residence survey. We have listened to these views, and this proposal has been removed from the budget papers going forward. However, this does not mean for 1 minute that we will stop speaking with residents, gathering their views and taking those views into account. In fact, the opposite is true. Since the beginning of this administration, we have committed to taking the council to the community, and this approach has proven to be highly effective. During the development of the Partnership Community Strategy consultation last summer, we spoke to more than 2,400 residents alongside our partners. The demographic data on those we had spoken to was shared with independent analysts who confirmed that the consultation had reached almost all groups identified in the last census. They also highlighted groups that were slightly underrepresented, and the delivery group ensured that those communities were engaged more proactively in the next phase. This is what meaningful listening looks like: ongoing, targeted and responsive. And under this administration, that will not change. As I have mentioned the community strategy, I want to return to it briefly and emphasise what a positive step it is to work with our partners to invest in our communities so they can become even stronger, more connected and cohesive. This will create the conditions to empower communities to provide support that is often more effective when delivered by those closest to the people who rely on it. Importantly, this is not a council strategy, but a partnership strategy. This strategy was built with our community. The vision, aims and objectives were created from the consultation. We've worked shoulder to shoulder with more than 20 partners, including Involve, Bracknell Wokingham College and Southill Park, Abbury and Thames Valley Police, to name but a few. Their contribution has shaped a genuinely collaborative vision for the future. This partnership matters because the real power of this strategy lies in collective action and making best use of our skills, experience and resources. Voluntary and faith groups, services, residents and the council all working together. And residents recognise the importance of this shift. In fact, 75% told us that they support investing in new community-led delivery models. And this is how we build communities that thrive. We are stronger together. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Bailey.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Providing support for our most valuable and vulnerable children and young people and their families is an essential function of our council. There continues to be a high level of demand for advice and support for families at a time when they need it most. Supporting children and young people at a time when they might be at risk of harm and ensuring that the right support is offered and provided at the right time is a critical service. The demand for early help, youth services and the broad range of social care services has increased significantly over the past year, alongside the increase in demand for services and support for disabled children and their families. Bracknell Forest have continued to respond. Hang on a second. It's playing up. Have continued to respond to the increase in demand for support, but as in all parts of the country, the cost of providing services, especially for those children and young people with the most complex needs, has seen a significant increase in unit cost. The increase in number of children with special educational needs and disabilities approaching transition into adulthood has also increased in both number and the level of need that requires support. The budget aims to meet the increase in unit cost and provide support that meets the needs of children and young people approaching for support as efficiently as possible. We're good at children's services in Bracknell Forest. The last officer gave us an outstanding grade. We intend to carry on doing just the same. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Any other? Councillor Vine?
Thank you, Leader. I'll say it again. We are proud of the fact that Bracknell Forest came fourth in the International Longevity Centres Index of the best places to be born, grow up and grow old. And when we say it is a good place to grow old, this means that so many of our residents can expect to stay active well into their 70s and 80s. And with so many activities available in the borough, we provide ways to keep mobile, keep learning and keep making friends. However, demand for our support is rising year on year. We are seeing more residents living longer, often with complex health needs, dementia and long-term conditions. At the same time, younger adults with disabilities are rightly living longer, more independent lives, supported by high-quality services. These demographic changes are not temporary, they will continue to grow. Because of this, 38% of the council budget is spent on adult social care. In real terms, 39.6 million was spent this year and it will rise to 40.5 million next year. However, the Fair Funding Review and business rates reset mean that our core grant support is at best flatlining in real terms. This means our social services team need to find innovative solutions to deliver quality care to more people. I don't doubt that they are up to their task. With a good CQC inspection in 2024 and a concerted effort to work towards outstanding in the next one, we have a great team in place and we continue to provide excellent care with our partners. This budget seeks to protect adult social care as far as possible while investing in transformation, prevention and community-based support. These approaches are essential but will take time to deliver savings. We are therefore being asked to balance immediate pressures with long-term reform. With the flexible use of capital receipts, we will create future models of independent living that involved increased use of technology, partnership with housing associations, and the voluntary sector and the NHS and neighbouring councils. All of this while ensuring that those currently drawing on care and their families and their carers are supported. The next 3 years of funding will be a challenge, but the proposals in place for this coming year will build on initiatives to ensure that we have the best model of adult social care for all our residents. I am pleased to support this budget and thank Grania Siggins and her team in the People Directorate for their hard work and innovation. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else here? Councillor Bidwell, would you like to speak?
Thank you, Leader. First of all, I'd like to thank my Cabinet colleagues for the comprehensive support of the 2026 revenue budget. In summary, the final budget proposals for 2026-27 represent the culmination of detailed analysis, public engagement and members' oversight during one of the most complex financial environments the Council has faced in over a decade. The combination of reduced government funding, the business rates reset and rising demand in statutory services requires us to take measured, strategic decisions to safeguard essential provision and protect our most vulnerable residents. The proposals before Cabinet maintain this focus. They invest where risks are greatest, address unavoidable pressures in social care and education, and deploy reserves and transformation funding responsibility to manage the new transition to a new funding landscape. Importantly, they incorporate meaningful support for low-income households and preserve frontline services wherever possible. I therefore ask for Cabinet's full support for these proposals so we can recommend a balanced, fair and sustainable budget to the Council, ensuring stability for residents and services in the year ahead. Thanks, Leader.
Thank you. I would like to now move the recommendations on 3.1 to 3.6. And I would like to just go over three of them that I think are really important, which with figures that stand out. 3.2.3 is a provision of inflation of 5.091 million. 3.2.4 is a general contingency totaling 2.5 million, of which to be authorised by in consultation with the Chief Exec. A council tax discount of £50 for working age and pensioner households receiving council tax support. And 3.2.6, a 4.99% increase in the council tax for the council services, with the council tax requirement, excluding parish and town council precepts, of 91.458 million. I move the recommendations 3.1 to 3.6 as shown on the screen. Can all those in favour? As in the supplementary. I move the recommendations 3.1 to 3.6 as in the supplementary and is as shown on the screen. Can all those in favour please raise your hands? Okay, thank you. That is carried. There is now items 7 and 8, and both of those items have contain exempt information. I do not want to close this meeting, so I am asking that when we discuss items 7 and 8, that we do not refer to any exempt information that is included in the papers. If you do wish to refer, then we will have to close the meeting and ask the press and the public to leave, and also to make sure that we are no longer online. So I am moving that we do not do this. We remain open and as transparent as possible. And I now move to item 7, which is out of borough property investments, strategic asset management strategy review. And I ask the Cabinet member to present.
Many thanks, Leader. This Cabinet report presents a comprehensive review of Bracknell Forest Council's out-of-borough commercial investment portfolio and sets out a strategic approach for securing long-term financial resilience. The Council's original commercial property investment strategy, adopted in 2016, sought to generate recurring income through the acquisition of high-performing commercial assets, contributing to the wider transformation goals and strengthening the authority's financial position. 6 such investment assets were purchased, representing a diverse range of sectors and geographic locations across England. These assets have delivered strong revenue performance since acquisition, achieving and exceeding the target of 3 million additional net income from 2019-2020 onwards, with over £28 million of income realised to date. However, the external operating environment has changed significantly. Market conditions have been reshaped by the pandemic, shifts in retail and office demand, evolving energy efficiency regulations, and revised government rules restricting commercial investments purely for yield. As a result, the Council can no longer expand its investment estate and must instead manage the existing portfolio through a combination of optimised retention or well-timed disposal, This new context aligns directly with the Council's wider asset management strategy 2025 to 2030, which positions these investment properties as resilience enablers, assets that contribute essential revenue and can underpin future capital investment and transformation initiatives. The report therefore brings forward an evidence-based set of recommendations for managing the portfolio, including targeted regearing of leases, asset-specific management plans, and disposal of selected assets where it's financially advantageous to do so, ensuring the Council continues to meet its strategic, financial, and service delivery priorities. Many thanks, Leader.
Thank you. Can I ask Andrew Hunter, the Executive Director of Place, if you've got anything to add, please?
Thank you, Leader. Only just one point just to add to that is that obviously if we were to dispose of any of those assets, then that would be a decision for Cabinet, so that would be brought back here. So what you're being asked to do is the overriding strategy agree that, but if we ultimately were to dispose, then we would bring that back through Cabinet as we've done previously earlier in the year. So just as so you're aware of that position.
Thank you. Has anyone got any questions for the Director, please? Councillor Gilby.
With the Leader's indulgence, I have a couple of questions. The first question is, at a high level, what are the key risks we're managing in the current commercial property market, things like lease events and changing demand, and how does this strategy reduce those risks? And the second question is, can officers outline the professional advice and disciplines we're using, for example, valuation, marking, testing and specialist input, to make sure decisions are evidence-led and represent best value for the Council? Thank you.
Thank you. Taking the second of those first. So this report's brought to you today because we've engaged specialists to give us some advice on those 5 remaining properties that we've got out of borough. So they have looked at lease events, energy efficiency requirements, what the market looks like in those particular localities, to give us an asset management strategy that fulfills a longer term management of the portfolio and retaining a good amount of income for the Council over a period of time. They've identified the risks that might impact on those particular properties and what we need to do in terms of interventions now to protect that long-term position. So I can give comfort that we've used an external party to do that piece of work, and that has shaped the strategy.
Are there any other questions? None? Councillor Bidwell, would you like to talk to it? No, I've got to move.
I think you have to move it first, don't you?
So I would like to move this item 7 and the recommendations on this. I think, is there a seconder?
Yeah, Councillor Punal, I'll second.
Thank you. I think the whole strategy shows that this is really the best possible way in which we can manage this property. It's done us proud in the past, I think, in all cases, and we want to make sure that it actually, the revenue that we can get from it, we continue to get from it. I know these are all self-maintaining, so we've not had to pay out money to maintain them all the time. But if we do have to do something now to make sure that they are still leasable and wanted by the people in their locality to retain the revenue, then that is important. That is included in the strategy. So I would like to move the recommendations. Would the seconder like to speak?
Yeah, thank you, Leader. Just say that I'm happy to second the recommendations. Just to repeat what you said, really, that it's essential we have this clear strategy to safeguard and maximise the potential revenue from the out-of-borough investments. I've got nothing further to add. Thank you.
Would anyone else like to speak? Councillor Gilby?
Thank you, Leader. I'm happy to support the recommendations in this report. This report is simply about good governance and prudent asset management. The Council holds a small portfolio of out-of-borough commercial assets, and our responsibility today is to manage what we hold in a way that protects the public purse, reduces avoidable risk, and supports the Council's long-term financial stability. The The commercial property market has changed significantly in recent years, most obviously in parts of the office market, alongside wider economic pressures and the growing importance of energy performance standards. The regulatory environment has also evolved, so the sensible approach now is not to drift and hope for the best, but to take a planned, professional, risk-managed approach. This is what this review does. It sets a clear direction, actively manage the portfolio with an eye on income security, lease events, and long-term value, rather than being forced into decisions at the last minute. It also makes clear that we are not writing a blank cheque. Tonight is about endorsing the strategic approach without any specific future decisions taken, with any specific future decisions taken through the appropriate governance route. In short, this is a measured, responsible plan to manage risk and protect value in a changing market. I support the recommendations and encourage colleagues to do the same. Thank you.
Would anyone else like to speak? Councillor Bidwell, would you like to speak?
Thank you, Leader, and thank you, fellow Cabinet members, for your support. Cabinet is asked to endorse this strategy because it offers a disciplined, future-focused approach to safeguarding vital income streams while reducing exposure to market and regulatory risks. The Council's out-of-borough assets have performed strongly, but without proactive intervention, income will decline significantly by 2031 as leases expire and market pressures intensify. By aligning the investment portfolio with the Asset Management Strategy 2025 to 2030, the Council can secure maximum value through selective lease regearing, targeted investment, or well-timed disposals, while generating capital receipts that directly support transformation, financial resilience, and community priorities. Supporting this report ensures that the Council continues to act responsibly as a steward of public assets, maximising revenue at a time of financial challenge, avoiding unnecessary pressure on frontline services, and enabling long-term planning aligned with our corporate and community objectives. I strongly hope that you will support this, fellow members, fellow Cabinet members, and thank you very much. Back to you, Leader.
Thank you. I would like to then move the recommendation of 3.1, 3.2 and 3.3. That's to note the findings of the review of the out-of-borough investment properties, approve the recommendations to manage the portfolio to support the Council's long-term financial position, and note that any plans for out-of-borough asset disposal will come back to Cabinet for approval. I move these. Can I have all those in favour? Will you raise your hand, please? Thank you. Then move on to item 8, which is the procurement for transformation partner. And can I have a Cabinet member to present the report, please?
That's me, thank you. This report aligns with this Council's priorities of being an ambitious, resilient and sustainable organisation. It outlines a proposal for the procurement of a first phase of specialist support to accelerate whole Council transformation. This will support the Council's priorities around financial sustainability, high quality services and the development of a new operating model. The approach ensures appropriate governance pace and value for money with a break clause to provide assurance and flexibility. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you. Can I ask Stuart McKellar, Executive Director of Resources, if you have anything further to add?
Thank you, Chair. This is, I think, the third time at least that we've had reference to transformation on tonight's agenda. That indicates how important it is. So there is funding for this proposal included within the Flexible Capital Receipt Strategy. So that will cover the phase one, which is about exploration and identifying where there are opportunities for the Council to specifically transform, but there will need to be a further report to Cabinet when we have the outcome of that first phase to make decisions around how we actually proceed with the implementation. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you. Has anyone got any questions of the officer? Councillor Wright.
Sorry, just a quick technical question. How long do we anticipate phase one is going to last? And where does the break clause sit in it? So, like, if it's not working, we need to change our provider. What's the sort of plan there? Thank you.
Through you, Leader. Yeah, we expect it will take probably 3-4 months to actually do the exploration stage, and the break clause is very neat. It's essentially once the partner has delivered the output from that phase 1, then we have to make a further decision around whether to proceed with that same partner for phase 2 or not.
My question is a bit naive, but if this is a local council, and all over the country local councils have been in similar positions, so these consultants go into these local councils and sort out and give recommendations for their issues and their concern to get them financial stability. Why can we not just contact one of those councils and say, what did they recommend then, and see and do likewise?
Every local authority is slightly different, Leader. The priorities that we have, the way in which services are delivered will be different. The amount of funding that we spend on the different services will be different. So there will be commonalities, and we have reached out to some of our neighbouring local authorities who have been on this journey before to get the lessons that they have learned through that, so that we get the opportunity not to make the same mistakes they did. So that's what's really informed our two-stage approach. That's been very clear that other councils who've gone through a similar arrangement, had they done it again, would have gone through the two-stage approach. That gives you the opportunity to get the insight and the data from phase 1, but then to take stock before you proceed to phase 2. Because the reality is that some organisations are much better at the data analysis than they are implementation, and it might be that we find one who's great at both parts. It might be that we don't feel so comfortable with the second part of it. So we've learned a lesson from other councils, but in terms of just looking at what specifically they've done, that does depend on where you are, Leader.
Thank you. That's reassuring that you've done all that as well. Thank you. Any question? Yeah, Councillor Pennell.
Thank you. At 6.6 on the papers, it says, where transformation proposals materially affect residents or partners, proportionate engagement will be undertaken ahead of implementation decisions. What is proportionate engagement, and what would that look like?
There are two examples we talked about on this evening's meeting, Councillor. The one is about the budget process. So there was a very intensive engagement with members of the public around broad proposals through the budget. But alongside that, there was a very specific and detailed consultation with the people potentially affected by the removal of the bus routes. So it depends on what exactly you're trying to do. If you're trying to get general views, then you don't need to go so deep. But if it is about specific things that will impact on individuals, then the expectation is that you would engage with those individuals before any change is enacted.
Are there any other questions? Can I ask the mover to move this recommendation, please?
Yeah. It's clear and has been recognised by this... Oh, sorry, I move it.
I'll second it. You move it. Yes, thank you.
Sorry, take two. It's clear and has been recognised by this Cabinet that there's a need to accelerate strategic change so that we can continue to operate efficiently and within our financial means, but also continuously improve service to residents. That much is clear. This calls for us to identify and invest in a single transformation partner that can bring specialist expertise to help identify these changes that will support a sustainable budget, will also help growth, will improve productivity and give resilience in our operations. There is, of course, a cost associated with this, but there is not the capacity or expertise to deliver this internally. I think it's also right to support our managers with the ability to co-design, co-author the changes, learn from the process, help build confidence and skills to ensure that the new improvements that are outlined are sustained and continuous. Cabinet have heard and should be assured that changes or proposals to changes that will be made that might affect residents will be taken to residents. Engagement with these groups will be undertaken before it goes any further. The scale and pace of what's needed does need additional specialist capacity, and as such I move that sourcing a single supplier for phase 1 of this programme is the most logical and coherent approach. So I move recommendations 3.1, 3.2, 3.3.
Would anyone else like to speak? The seconder will speak then. I would just like to say that I think this gives us external assurance, really. We've got lots of options, and they will look at all the possible options and make sure that we actually get value for money, but also if we can become even more efficient and more effective. And we do need to move at pace. There is a real need for change, as is shown by this budget, which we've just passed. And I think we need to get on with this, and so I support this recommendation. And I'm sure that after phase 1, we'll have many, many questions to think about where we go from that. Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Would the mover like to wind up?
I don't have anything further to add.
Would you like to move the recommendation then as on the screen?
Yep, I move recommendations 3.1, 3.2, 3.3 on the screen.
Can I ask all those in favour to raise your hands, please? Thank you. That concludes tonight. I'm going to kill this. That concludes tonight's meeting. Thank you very much, and I really do love this microphone.